Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the studio for the Lighthouse Path Podcast. As always, I have a very special guest in terms of her message is unique and it will help us all be able to shine more brightly as the lighthouses we are in serving our audience. I'm Stacy Hall, and it is a joy to welcome you here and to welcome Avery Crumrine into the studio. Hi, Avery.
Hi, Stacy. I'm so glad to be here.
I'm thrilled you are too, and I'm going to introduce you. I'm going to say I was a little surprised that Avery is still a student because she wrote an absolutely brilliant book. She is a student. She's also a writer, a speaker, and I got to hear her on a speaking stage talking about a topic that I would say dims people's lights, entrepreneurs primarily. Their light goes out because they don't do what Avery is going to teach us all to do here and what her book definitely makes possible for people. And that is, despite having motivation, despite having inspiration, we get up during the day, in the morning, and we're ready to get at it. And then the evening comes and we look and go, what happened to the day? Why didn't I follow through? Right, Avery?
Absolutely.
And I guess this happened to you yourself, or maybe it never happened to you, but you saw it happening to others and you said, this is happening way too much. I have to do something about it. Is that correct?
Completely. Yeah. I grew up
Yep.
in a household of entrepreneurs. And so, growing up around that drive, it kind of instills a different kind of purpose and follow through in a child. And so, growing up, seeing everyone around me not following through, it made me want to help people.
Yeah. All right. So say more about that. What kind of lack of follow through do you mean? I think we all know, but let's hear it from you.
Absolutely. I mean, follow through can really be anywhere in life. It can be, so small. It could be maybe you're trying to start working out more, and that's like a daily workout routine. Maybe you're trying to start a business. Maybe you're trying to write a book. It can really show up anywhere in life, and it's not just about taking that first step, but it's about following through after that momentum's gone, after you don't have motivation to continue, and just knowing that goal that you have was big enough to continue following through and accomplish.
Well, I would say that most people would say their goal is big enough, right? It's their mission, their purpose, their why. We hear all of this. And then they don't follow through. I say I'm in the work that I do as a sales success strategist. I may give a client a very simple project to do to be able to get their marketing message out there or to be able to make it easy to get on sales closing calls. And they'll be thrilled to receive that tip and they'll say, that's what I needed. And they still won't do it. Why do you think that is?
I think it really comes down to your perspective. I feel like a lot of people perceive follow through as something that you just take one step on and then it'll happen, but it's a commitment if you're wanting to do something. And so a lot of it comes down to having to reframe the resistance that comes up. A lot of times, or every single time that you're wanting to do a goal or you have an intention, some resistance is going to come up, some obstacle, whether that's rejection, lack of time, any of this stuff that comes up. It's really being able to reframe that into a way where you can move past it.
So how do you reframe it? I mean, I can already hear everybody out there watching going, okay, so how do you reframe it? I know that's in your book. Can you give us a couple of tips?
Yeah, I talk a lot about rejection just because I've had so much experience growing up around it. I ended up starting my first business at 10 years old. And
Wow.
so obviously as a child, you're going door to door, you're doing all these things, you're trying to, sell products, see what works and what doesn't. You're going to hear a lot of no's. And then my mom, Stacy Lauren, we ended up doing street interviews to find her formula. And so again, you're asking random people on the street to interview them. How many no's are you going to actually end up hearing? More than double than yes, you're assuming, right? And so it's really about, it's not in the game of being able to hear the yes, it's just being able to hear the no and move on. And so it's really like, how bad do you want this goal of making this business successful, of finding this formula, and being able to push past hearing a no in the moment.
Okay, so how do you think you did push past? How did you and your mom push past? What were their statements, mantras, people you turned to? What were the ways that you, and then you talked about reframing. How would you reframe the no?
Completely, yeah. It's funny. I think my mom and I had a lot of excitement around doing it because I was a Girl Scout growing up, and so we went business to business and everything, and had that experience of hearing all the no's. She grew up selling door to door books over the summers, and so she also had that experience. And so I thought it was kind of energizing, hearing people's stories, being able to interview them, and then when you hear that no, being able to understand, oh, maybe I should phrase it a different way, being able to kind of reframe how I'm saying something to make it hit better, and not taking it as like it's horrible, like stop asking, but taking it as oh, I can adjust what I'm saying to make it land better,
I okay, I'm going to stay focused on what you just said, because especially in the sales world, as you mentioned, that is exactly it. First off, a no may not be a no forever. It could just be a no for right then, but not taking it personally, you said. And thinking about, is there a better way that I could say this? Can I play with different ways and see what lands better? Um, I use the phrase play, explore, discover. That if we had treat everything as an experiment, which is what I'm hearing you say, tell me if I'm wrong. But if everything in life is an experiment, then there's no failure and we can't take it personally. It's just an exploration. Do you want to expand on that at all?
No, that's amazing. And I love how you mentioned that a no isn't always going to be a no forever, because my mom and I were actually interviewing, I believe it was in Rome, and we had asked some guy if he would be open to a few minutes just doing an interview, and he was like, no, I don't have time. And he ended up coming back a few minutes later and saying like he wanted to get out of his comfort zone. I thought that was so funny, and that's like a core memory for me, because nothing had really changed besides that we had kept staying out there and we kept asking.
Yeah. And he's like, why not? Like he was observing. That was probably what had happened, is he wanted to see what you were actually doing. And when he realized that you weren't going to hurt him, right? And I would say, I was talking with somebody earlier today that we just never know who's actually lurking. And that's a weird word, but that is what often people are doing on social media. They don't want us to know they're watching us. They don't want to say anything until they're ready to have a conversation, because they're pretty sure if they say something, we're immediately going to contact them, right? But they may be lurking, and then all of a sudden something makes sense to them and they decide to come out. You had said
Exactly.
to me that you think that people misunderstand what motivation and discipline are. And I don't think anybody has ever said that to me. Like I would say, I assume that people know what we mean by motivation and discipline, but you're pretty sure they misunderstand it. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people wait to make progress until they feel inspired to do something. Especially, I work a lot one-on-one helping people write books. And so specifically in that world is they're waiting to write until they feel inspired to write something. But it's really about having that consistency of what 10 to 30 minutes a day writing a book will end up completing a manuscript. But if you're having 1 5-hour session a week, and then 2 weeks of just avoiding the book, like that's not going to make much progress. So you can't just rely on having the inspiration to write. And I think that can apply to more than just a book as well.
100%. I'm going, if it's okay, I'm going to bring up my own experience about writing my first book, which I have now written numerous books. But the first one, I grew up writing plays and stories for myself. I wasn't afraid to write. I was always inspired to write. But once I got into the business world, what I was equating it with was going into like being more of a hermit. And I liked being out with people and making money and doing that thing. And it actually took, so I had a ton of ideas for a book didn't take action on any of them. But I was in a training session with some authors, and this woman was a cookbook author. Right now, this is me going, yeah, I got nothing to learn from a cookbook author. I was going to write about sales and marketing. I don't even remember her name, but I have expressed gratitude to her every day ever since then, all these years. Because what she said she started to do was she would send her recipes to friends. She asked, would anybody like to receive my recipes? And she sent them via email. This is before we had Facebook. There was no social media. It was AOL. I'm dating myself. But that's when she said to get the motivation to keep going, she needed to feel like she was writing to somebody. And I said, well, I could write 365 tips, because that's what she did. She did 365 recipes, and at the end had a year's cookbook, a recipe a day. I could do a marketing and sales tip a day, and that was it. That's all I needed, because it was just a little bit of time. I got the inspiration, motivation, but I was able to do it without blocking everything else out in my life to be able to do it. As it turned out, it didn't even take a year. I wound up completing the book much earlier because it turned into something else, but that got me going. So what are some ways that you feel that people could get that kind of motivation or inspiration like I did? Where could they look for that?
I think it's really about staying realistic as well. I mean, being able to say, oh, I can think of one tip a day. I can think of one recipe a day. You're being realistic with your time. But if you're thinking, I'm going to sit down for like 2 days a week and I'm going to think of like 50, then it's like you're never going to end up even sitting down and writing anything. So I think it's really about being realistic with everything that's going on in your life currently, everything that you're wanting to do, and then being able to take that smaller step to actually do it, even when you don't feel inspired.
Yeah. So you and I had talked after the speech that you gave about procrastination and perfectionism. And I believe they're part of the same, like they're two sides of the same hand. They have to do with people not knowing what to do in order to either get moving or do it perfectly. They don't know. So do you address that in the book?
I don't think I touch on it head on, but I think perfectionism leads to procrastination inevitably. So it's so hand in hand.
Yes, absolutely. So the tips would help somebody get moving, because the name of the book is Intention into Action. So you've got some tips buried in there that would help people get over procrastination and perfectionism.
Absolutely. I mean, I talk about, being able to start before you even like feel ready in yourself, and how I even experienced that. When I was younger, being able to jump into something without even knowing what I'm doing, and all the good that came out of that, not having to have the perfect moment or have everything planned out, and being able to just jump on something and have it turn out very well.
Well, thank goodness you learned at a very young age. I'm way at the other end, and a lot of my friends are at the other end, but they're ready to finally kick this procrastination issue or the lack of follow through issue. And how much confidence do you think somebody has to have in order to be able to move forward? It doesn't have anything to do with confidence at all.
I think it has nothing to do with confidence. Not at all.
Oh, okay. You got to tell us why.
Absolutely.
People would argue with you on that. So why do you feel it has nothing to do with confidence?
I mean, I'm speaking from just personal experience, as I never felt that confidence before I ended up doing something huge that ended up shifting something for myself. I didn't have confidence that I could be a good writer before I wrote and published my own book. And look where I am now. I have a best-selling book. Like that wouldn't have happened if I had waited until I felt confident enough to write something. I didn't feel confident before I went on stage for the first time. When I first did an interview on stage, I didn't have any of the questions. I'm like, this is my first time on stage. Like, I could have obviously said no to the opportunity, but it ended up launching me into getting so many more speaking opportunities. And so it's just, it's really about just being able to say yes to these opportunities without having that confidence in the first place.
Well, I'm going to say that you have mastered it. And if anybody else who wants to master it, it's important they get your book, but you also have a gift for folks. Are you able to share your gift here with us?
Absolutely. Yeah. So my gift is going to be the results system workbook, which is made after I wrote my book and I kind of found these key ideas of what ended up making my system, and then having the 2-week follow-through program helped me kind of discover everything that kind of went in line. And so I'm excited to finally share a step-by-step on how to do something that you're wanting to do in 2 weeks. So
great. So we will share that along with the podcast episode. Of course, you don't have to wait because you can just go straight to Avery's website. It's been scrolling across the bottom of the screen the whole time. And Avery, thank you so much for choosing to write the book, not procrastinating to write the book, and you help others. I'm going to give you one more minute because there's a lot of people here who would love to be able to write a book, and they've been putting it off and putting it off, but you actually help people get their book out very quickly. Do you want to say one more minute about that?
absolutely. I mean, it's been so rewarding to have this new program that I made, which is the Become an Author offer, which is helping someone write and publish their book in 45 days. And it's just been so incredible to see like all these books come to life, people ordering these first proofs, either it's their first ever book or their fifth book. And it's just so exciting either way. And so I really help people step by step between refining, clarity, outline, and then I walk them through, depending on how much support they need, I help them with formatting the book, the cover, and publishing.
Wow. 45 days, your book could be out. And I will attest, being a multi number one published author that started with the first book, even though many, many people have written books, somebody who has far more credibility and value to others than somebody who has not. There's something about completing a book that is built in credibility and visibility. So I highly recommend. I am not an affiliate of Avery's program. If you go to her website, I'm thinking maybe I would be, but no, I just want everybody to know that it's possible with Avery's help. Just go to her website. And Avery, again, thank you for spending some of your time here in the studio with me to be able to educate others. It was very generous of you.
Of course, it was such a pleasure.
Thank you. And to everybody watching, as always, this is a reminder to make sure your light is shining brightly. So I'm going to sign off by saying shine on. Love you all. Take care.